Today's podcast is sponsored by Audible. Oi! Get a free audiobook download now and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/nothingbutstatic. They have over 180,000 titles to choose from, and you can get it across all your devices, your Androids, your Kindles, your iPhones, your laptops. Yeah.
Stop it. Stop. You're about to list Sega Mega Drive. I knew where that was going.
About to start listing
Stop
things
that
listing things that the service isn't simply not available on.
Yeah.
But
I know where you were going with that.
Yeah.
It's fine. Stop.
Yeah, so that it's good. It's a free trial and a free book. Get the book. Some good books.
It's a great service. Go check it out.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to Stephen University. This week we'll be discussing Room for Ruby. A hell of an episode in my opinion.
Room for Ruby.
A Room for Ruby. Chris, what was it about?
This week's episode was about seeing how irritating one character could be. Very.
Really?
So
okay.
Yeah. Found Ruby. Maybe I'm just tired and grouchy, but I found that Ruby character. I was with the cute blue one all the way.
Right.
Now, obviously,
very interesting.
I'm team cute blue one, but still.
Yeah.
So
okay, this is going to be an interesting discussion. Carry on.
So there's Garnet and Stephen are watching the stars. Suddenly, a star crashes to Earth, screaming. It's Naval Ruby.
Stars tend not to do that.
Yeah. It's Naval Ruby, and she says that the other rubies were always horrible to her,
which is true.
And she wants to join Earth. So Garnet says, "Yeah, go for it." After Stephen draws parallels between Navy and obviously her. So they go to the barn. Ruby wants to join the barn. Paradox gets excited. Stephen gets excited. Pumpkin gets excited. The cute blue one less excited because she's just a bit nervous about the whole thing. Ruby gets Earth lessons and is increasingly loving Earth, increasingly enjoying Earth, and increasingly irritating the cute blue one and me. Cute blue one getting annoyed with the fact that she seems really well adjusted, like they were enemies a little while ago. How come she's suddenly so fine with things? Then she kind of storms off after the cute blue one has understood how to sleep, liked Pumpkin, liked plants, understood that the weather changes and it's beautiful. Basically the cute blue one's anger is that how can she be so well adjusted? Is there something wrong with her because she wasn't so well adjusted? She took her time over this stuff. Navy then appears and apologizes for making her feel sad and says that the only place she's ever felt home is the ship. Even though the ship housed all the other rubies and she said they were horrible to her for some stupid reason. Stephen's like, there's the ship over there. Let's try it out together. So they get in the ship and they go flying, and then we're hit with the shock that Navy is actually still the bad guy. And she kicks him out the ship and they crash into the water. The cute blue one vindicated because she wasn't well adjusted after all. And Garnet appears with two balloons, welcome party or sorry for your loss, and smashes the welcome party one, and says that that it was still worth a shot. So we've not forgotten about the rubies. Navy is coming for them, and they will soon be all reunited in their ship with information. Will they go for revenge themselves? Will they go inform their leaders
or Homeworld? Yeah.
Homeworld. What's going on?
Or are they still looking for Jasper?
Excited about that, huh?
Or are they still looking for Jasper?
Yeah, exactly. So what are they? Because they're very, they're meant to be very obedient. So are they just going to go back to their original mission?
Which was recover Jasper. So Well,
Who knows? I'm very excited with where we ended. And I enjoyed the episode. I really did. But I did find the Ruby character increasingly irritating and so clearly up to something. Like, if she wasn't up to it, if this episode ended with a cute blue one apologizing and us getting a new crystal gem, this earth-loving Ruby, I'd have been mad. Like, I'd have just been like, nope, don't need this.
Well, I'm going to maybe surprise you here, Chris, and maybe I was just an idiot that day, gullible fool. I genuinely didn't see it coming.
Really?
This episode blew my mind because I got so suckered in, like Steven, naively just like, look, it's because I remembered that there was one Ruby that the rest of the Rubies were mean to. I couldn't remember specifically if it was Navy of the five, but there was definitely a Ruby that seemed a bit dimmer and the other Ruby sort of bullied. So that tracks with the previous episode. So when Navy showed up, I was just like, the guys are mean. I just want to go somewhere. I just equated it in my head to, I thought about Lapis and Peridot and how they've come around and thought, yeah, why not? Let's add to the Earth crew. I see no problem with that. And why not speed it up and do a story about Lapis feeling, because I suppose the giveaway is where else is the story if not a betrayal. But in my head, I think what I was looking at as the story of this episode was really Lapis's story. This is the genius of this episode, in my opinion, because you look at it and you go, okay, so it's Lapis having to come to terms with the fact that she is messed up. Like, she is not the average gem. Like, an average gem can adjust here much quicker than she did, because this is the site of her torment. This is where she was trapped in a mirror for thousands of years. Do you know what I mean? Earth represents a lot of very bad things that happened to her. So of course it took Lapis a long time to adjust to life on the planet that imprisoned her. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's like making a place that you were imprisoned for years your home after you've been allowed to escape. Like, that's a strange thing to have to do. To be able to see the beauty in it and stuff would be more challenging for her. So in my head, I'm going, this is a story about Lapis and her arc and accepting the fact that she's kind of messed up. You know, intriguingly, for me, that's not the way they went at all, and they ended up completely undoing the Ruby thing in the last minute, and I genuinely felt utterly betrayed. Like, this episode actually got me, like, in my gut. I was like, no way! Like, I just something, I don't know if I was just being gullible or stupid, or if I was just half asleep that day and therefore didn't, pick up on it, but I legitimately was shocked when Ruby turned out to be,
Did you not... Well, I've got two things to that. One, did you, regardless of your shock, did you not find, I love the plants, I love the weather, oh, rain, did you not find that irritating?
No, I found it kind of funny because they're just, because she's just so naive, and like, it's not, I don't even think, because I didn't even think that she genuinely loved it. I just thought she was just like, well, happy to go along with everything. Like, you could have put a dog turd in front of her. She goes, that's amazing. Like, I feel like that was kind of funny to me that there's a character that positive, and it was nice because it was funny to me because it was such a contrast to Peridot and Lapis in different ways. Lapis simply wanted to go, and Peridot simply couldn't understand. Between the two of them, it was a really interesting series of episodes. Getting them both on board with Earth,
and that is my, well, go and finish that. But that's my, go and finish what you said.
So they had such interesting approaches and sort of struggles to get to grips with Earth. This sort of like, I just loved the idea that like that this character would come along that would honestly be happy if you gave her a pile of dirt. And therefore, just sort of like just going along with it because it's just everything's great. Like, I kind of love that. I love that character, and I want that sort of positivity is like, you just go like, wouldn't it be great if we all had someone like that positive in our lives? So I was
Lego Movie if you want that.
Yeah, I was so on board, and I was so excited, especially like when Steven makes the other statement, which blew my mind, which is like, oh yeah, now we have an actual pilot. Like, Pearl and Peridot have both been able to pilot ships in the past, but they're not pilots as such by gem standards. They both have other roles, so they're not. They can do it, but it's not like they're sort of top level skill. It's not the thing they're the best at. So having a pilot for that ship, I was like, oh my god, the possibilities now are crazy. And then just that betrayal, like, I honestly felt betrayed. Like, this episode elicited legitimate anger. And what I find fascinating about this is, I went through this episode and my arc as a viewer was Steven's, because I literally went from being like, this is so exciting, how awesome is this? Like, and believing it and buying into it, to being really betrayed and kind of bummed out. And you went from, I find this very irritating, to, yes, I was right. Vindication, which is Lapis's arc. So when you started saying that stuff, the reason I was like, this could be an interesting discussion, is just on the pure basis of, that to me is fascinating, that you went through Lapis's experience in this episode, and I went through Steven's.
And I'd love to know, comment below with where you felt, what your experience was.
I would not be surprised if everyone agreed with you, Chris, honestly, because I feel like when I watched it back then, I was like, there are a lot of very overt, like, oh, there's my ship. Like, I should have seen it coming, but I just got blinded by the sort of the sheer joy of it. And I think as well, the show has created a precedent as well for like characters coming to Earth and getting to grips with it. So it wouldn't seem outside of the realms of.
No, this is my point 2, and point 1, like what you saw as sheer joy, I saw as irritation. But my point 2 is, when you think about the time and the depth that was dedicated to Lapis and Peridot before they became a member of the team, like the arcs that they went from and the detail and the multiple episodes, multiple seasons, real slow, strong development. The idea of them just flipping that and just having an episode and then we've got a new member of the gang, like, I just wouldn't
but I don't think
ever want them to do it or buy that they would.
Yeah, but no, see, that's what I liked about it, because I was kind of excited to see what would happen, because I was sort of in my head, I was going, yeah, this seems too easy for a reason. The interesting depth bit is going to come later. So it's going to be instant adjustment to Earth, but it's going to be instant clashes with every member of this team, and we're going to get some really interesting stories like that, because this Ruby, maybe like Peridot, holds too many of Homeworld's values to heart, and will maybe not be as ready as Peridot was to adjust to Earth's values.
But she doesn't at all, because she spends the whole episode loving Earth. Like,
no, I meant going forward. Like, in my head, when I'm watching this, under the impression that that is a distinct possibility. That Ruby is just with them. I'm thinking of, because you're sort of saying, oh, well, you miss out on the multiple episodes in the depth. I'm like, well, yeah, but the way I saw it was, they got her in real quick. The depth would come in subsequent episodes. It was just a nice fun introduction. Did
her not loving the Earth though begin to contradict that in your head? Because you
can love the Earth but still hold some of the values of Gem Society, and like.
But she was loving everything, and I genuinely believe, like, because for me, if they were going to do that story genuinely, as long as she was less irritating, which might be, she might have just rubbed me up the wrong, me and the cute blue one, but hopefully some other audience members as well.
I'm sure. Like, I'm 100% sure that you are in the majority. I acknowledge that. So
if they made the character less interesting, the most interesting element of that story becomes, how does a Ruby react when she finds out that Garnet is a fusion? How does a Ruby react to Garnet's Ruby?
Yeah.
But this Ruby that they gave us, like, I fully believe you put anything in front of that Ruby, and that makes you go, well, then she's lying. Was so, like, I love it that she'd have just been like, oh, fusion, fantastic, I love fusion.
But I was looking to see so basically with Lapis we got the anger at the crystal gems that the Homeworld gems feel because of the fact that the crystal gems represent a war that happened. So that's Lapis's side of her problem with the crystal gems and Earth that she had to overcome. Then you got Peridot's side of it, which was more of a societal, like, she can't understand that they don't fill the roles they're supposed to fill, and she's a bit disgusted by the fusion. And I kept thinking, every time they introduced a new character, they found a new angle on why a Homeworld gem would struggle to adjust to Earth. And in my head I was going, I can't wait to see the angle on this one, because it will come up. That there will be some weird societal gem thing that's not been explored yet, that this Ruby will become the representative of Homeworld to explore that idea through. Does that make sense?
Because we've been so pissed at the end.
No, but that was what was so powerful about it. I felt betrayed. That's what I'm saying. That's why it's such a good episode, because I genuinely was like, no, I've been deprived of that. Because that's the thing, is you look at this and you sort of go like the opportunity, because we haven't spent that much time with Homeworld Gems, but we know what Homeworld society is like because of the characters that have come from Homeworld and come here and the struggles they've had getting on with Earth. And I was looking forward to seeing a new side of Homeworld, or learning a new thing about what Homeworld is like in contrast to Earth, through this new character that's going to be joining the team. So yeah, but I was thrilled with it though, because I when this episode finished, I was legitimately gobsmacked. I remember pausing it and turning to Andrew, just being like, I can't believe they just did that, and it was. And I feel really tricked and betrayed. But that's brilliant. How effective a TV show is this when it can make you feel like that?
Whereas I just felt sheer joy and relief. I was punching. I was like, oh, finally.
But again, that also works. That is also an equally brilliant response to what. But in a weird way, then does that not prove how good an episode this actually is?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I never said it was a bad one at all. I just got irritated with that character, but that by no means is it a bad episode.
Yeah. It's the same way that I felt betrayed, but I kind of reveled in that. I went, "That's amazing. They made me feel that way."
Yeah, but surely, really. So, hey, Stephen, push the button. You weren't a bit the push
the button moment was when I started to go, no, are they going to do this?
Right.
That's the moment I went, oh no, this is definitely about to take a turn. But that's when they start telegraphing it really hard. But
it does come quite late. Because I put the timer up and I was like, oh please, can we just get there? And then we got there and I was like, oh good. I was so when they flew out that spaceship and nearly injured themselves, I was so happy.
Yeah, and
I also really like the Peridot gag of like, I can't hear what's going on.
Is she showing us the ocean?
Yeah,
it's great.
And really cool use of Peridot's power, with the way Peridot lifts the metal to take
up to the
Stephen up to the thing. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah,
for a minute I was like, is Stephen floating them all up there? And I was like, oh no, they're on a piece of metal. So Peridot's
I really love that they're just incorporating that more and more frequently now, and she's getting better at it. Like it's really good. I'm loving the little sort of background arc of Peridot learning how to use her powers. Honestly, I do think this is a great episode. Like, not just a standard enjoyable. I think this is genuinely a brilliant piece of TV because it works on, as far as I'm concerned, it works on almost every level. And your response to it has further solidified my opinion that this is an absolutely brilliant piece of TV. And again, I think I might be in the minority. I don't know how popular this episode is. I don't remember reading a lot about it. I think it kind of flew under the radar a bit. I don't remember it causing much of a stir either way. So I suspect this is more of a meh, whatever episode than. But when I saw this was one of the ones we were recording today. We recorded 2 today for listeners. We recorded this is the second one. We literally. What did we just do? We did Tiger Philanthropist, then with this. So when I saw these were the 2 episodes we were recording today, I literally was like, I cannot wait to rewatch and talk to Chris about Room for Ruby.
Yeah.
But I think I'm alone though, for sure.
But it also does that really exciting thing. Like I didn't mind the Doctor Who episode Victory of the Daleks. I certainly didn't hate it as much as other people seem to hate it. I thought it was fine, but for me, one of the most interesting things about that was that at the end, the Daleks are just out there, and there's this sense of and the Doctor. I think I might have talked about it on this podcast before, but
we've certainly mentioned it on one of our podcasts, but it could have been nothing but static, so I had to re-explain.
Yeah. And the Doctor says, Amy says to the Doctor, "Are you worried?" And the Doctor says, "I'm always worried about the Daleks." And I just love the notion that they were just out there, and instead of having to, we were in a situation where instead of having to explain why the Daleks were back at the beginning of every Dalek story, we were now in a scenario where it was like the writers went, you know what? They're always out there. They're literally always out there.
Yeah,
unfortunately, because of the violent.
Go on, sorry.
Well, unfortunately, because of the violent fan reaction to those particular Daleks, they never then got used in that context, which is a real shame. I love the notion that the Rubies are now out there, and we don't know what they're going to do.
And to clarify for those
really
thinking about that point, historically, Doctor Who, the context of that, of the importance of the Daleks being out there, is that in every previous Dalek episode, that had preceded that, or not every, but most Dalek episodes that had preceded that, it had ended with the Doctor defeating them in a way where they were gone. So the fact that at the end of Victory of the Daleks, they didn't succeed in their plan, but their victory was that they survived the encounter with the Doctor and were there to now build and rebuild and fight another day, was an ominous notion. And that episode is helped by the fact that all of the previous writers to tackle Dalek stories, the sort of 5 years prior to that, 4 years prior to that, well, it would have been 5 because of the year of the specials, would have, all ended their stories with them very much defeated in a way that seemed like they wouldn't come back from, which then made it harder for the next writer to do a Dalek story. So I never understood why they did that, but there you go.
Yeah. Well, they tended to do it, with the exception of season 3. Most Dalek stories were the big finale, so I suppose you do it for that reason.
So you're right. The notion that the Rubies are now out there and are some sort of distant future threat, you don't expect that they're coming back next week, but it's looming now. You just think they're out there, they're doing something. They're not for
and I prefer that. Like, if you were like, this is the start of a bomb, I'd be like, oh no, because I'd assume the bomb would be about the Rubies. I prefer the idea that they're floating around as this sort of ongoing threat.
Well, it's also because it's like it's a better situation, because so when the Rubies were just floating in space and Stephen was like, we have to get back to them. They weren't a threat, but you also felt like Stephen, like, knowing his character, he should be out there saving them. Now the circumstances is different. This is a better place to leave them in, and while we wait to bring them back properly. They're out there rebuilding or doing something, and you don't know what. It's more ominous. It doesn't require that sort of weird sort of disbelief. Or, you got to sort of stretch your imagination to live in a world where Stephen wouldn't immediately go and save them. You don't have to do that anymore, because you know what I mean, like that. Now they're out there and they're fine, and he knows that, so you don't have to sort of stretch your imagination to that anymore, and you've got the threat. So it's a really clever episode to sort of reestablish the status of the Rubies without actually just doing another flat out 5 Ruby episode. This was a much more interesting approach, and we got to explore some of the ideas of some of the themes of the show explored at like a distance. This adjusting to Earth thing and learning, about a new culture, a new society, which has been one of the big themes of the show, sort of looked at almost on fast forward for a minute, is actually kind of interesting, like to sort of see it from a more overall view.
And I got a question for you, and I'm not saying this is my opinion, I'm asking the question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they should stop at this point doing the Lapis has cute blue one has difficulties,
you said it
with
right.
Earth, is angry but conflicted.
Wait.
What?
1 sec.
No, don't make that.
Well done, Chris. You said Lapis right twice. I think you deserve this applause, Chris. Soak it in. There you go. Well done.
I don't want that to become a thing. I very much don't want that to become a thing.
You said Lapis correctly twice. That needed to happen.
I don't think I said it. I think I said Lapis the second time. I don't think I said it.
Did you? It sounded right to me. Comment below. Did he say it right?
I've been saying it right for ages, though, and you didn't applaud me then because the sound box wasn't a thing then, and it shouldn't be a thing now.
I know. I love how much you hate the sounds. I think now on we need to. I need to get like a mixing desk, do it like one of those like shock jocks, like like every day, just like sound effects, like, and then Stephen fell over. Boing.
There's a list of people somewhere. Like, there's somewhere mystical. There's a list of people that should never try and even attempt to be anywhere near a DJ, and DJ Danny Doolan is on that list.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the stage. Tuesday in the morning, the dead starts. But now Chris gonna set labs again.
Do you think they've done
no
cute
I like
blue
that you're
one.
moving on. Yeah, sorry, Karen, with your actual point. I will stop doing that.
Yeah, do you think they've done her being conflicted a bit enough now? Do you think there's more to explore there? Because and I'm not saying they have. They've done it a few times. What are your thoughts?
That's a really hard question to answer, Chris. Because there have been times when I have become like, oh, come on, we've done this now. But there was a recent episode, from my perspective, that tackled it again, and my interest in that character was renewed. And I don't know why, because I still think they're hitting the same notes. So I really think because look, essentially, like she's a tragic figure in that she's had this thing happen in her past that has quite clearly messed her up. Like, quite evidently, Lapis is just to put to generalize and simplify, for the sake of this discussion. She's quite messed up. She's essentially a survivor of war torture. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
she's forced into a mirror, poked and prodded, and then left to rot for thousands of years.
Well, and then fought a battle under sea with Jasper.
In an abusive relationship for like of a sort, like a metaphorical one and I suppose a weirdly literal one within this Jasper situation as well. I almost forgot about that. So she's a character that's been through a lot. So every decision she makes is governed by fear, really. Because she's terrified that this is what's going to happen again. She's still scared that the diamonds are going to come back and she's going to get sucked into some other war. So the main reason she resisted staying on Earth not only is because it was the source of her original anguish, because it's the place she was trapped, but because it's the place the next battle is likely to take place. She doesn't want to get sucked into another war. Very, very distinctly, she has done that and is very much out of that and not interested in that. And I think the satisfying conclusion to her arc is her finally stepping forward to do what's right and accepting that it might not end up well for her, but doing the right thing is more important than self-preservation. But in the meantime, a lot of her stories come down to the same ideas, which is that she's terrified of what's to come, doesn't want an involvement in it, and is scared of how it will ultimately play out. And I think that, when you hit the same beat with a character too many times, it can become repetitive, but that is the perspective she's always going to come at everything from. So it's very hard to do an episode of Lapis where you look at something different. This episode manages to do something kind of different with it, because it plays on a very different element of that, which is the frustration that somebody else could be so well adjusted because she doesn't even correctly see the situation as it is. She doesn't even seem to understand how messed up she is, and that's kind of tragic. Like, she sees Ruby, this character that's literally been on Earth for has been a part of the story on Earth for what, like a few months, a year, whatever. From the first visit from the Rubies, has not had anywhere near the same level of like torture and unfortunate circumstances happen to that Ruby, and yet she's like, well, how is this Ruby so well adjusted? She can't even see her own situation. She doesn't even understand how she's different to everyone else, and that's so tragic because she's comparing herself to someone that you simply cannot compare yourself to. So this episode found a really interesting angle on essentially that same element, and Lapis just needs to basically, I think ultimately it's gonna be her having to accept that element of herself, that she is, kind of... Go on.
And I must say, I like that they ended this episode. I can see if people thought, well, that's a weird beat to end it on, the way she was just like, I was right.
I love
but
that.
What I like about that is I feel like in some previous episodes, like the one on the boat maybe, they kind of tried to imply that she kind of had a bit of that acceptance and stuff, whereas this one... they left it unaddressed within that character. I think there have been some episodes where you kind of meant to feel that she is moving on somehow, but with this one, she was only really acknowledging the problem, and that obviously helps with this kind of stuff, but it wasn't her overcoming it.
Yeah, I agree. She's a fascinating character, and she's certainly one of my favorites, I think, because I even though they do often hit the same note with her. Because I think that's what you're getting at with the Lapis story.
I I don't think they are, because I like the character. I think they do it in interesting ways. And actually, I don't even know if she should overcome it. I don't know if, it's more about her accepting that's a part of her, which is
rather than feeling bad about the fact that she's that's a really interesting point, actually.
I think you can use her character to explore a lot of really adult themes.
Yeah, because what sort of message is that to send to kids? Like if she does overcome it, it's like, you're not going to be able to overcome everything that's happened in your past. Like there are some things you're always going to feel negatively about or towards.
And she
represents that in a weird way.
She's she's in a way not the counter argument. She's the other side of the in the way that I'm just trying to make sure I'm clear with my point. That's why I'm stuttering. I'm trying to make sure it's because it's a statement related to something like mental health. That's why I'm stuttering. I'm trying to choose my words carefully. I think the way that mindful education looked at elements of mental health,
yes,
her character looks at other elements of mental health and that are just as important to look at and just as important to showcase. And I think that that's why I don't think they've done it too much, because could you ever? You know what I mean? Could you ever address something that important too much on a show?
You're right. This? Should she ever overcome it? I think it's important as well to teach people particularly teach kids. I think that there are things in your life that are going to happen that are going to be sad, and they're always going to feel that way to you. You're not going to have a magical day where those feelings are going to go away. But then again, I suppose you could still do it through acceptance with her, where she accepts that that's the situation.
Yeah, but she finds paradox. She finds paradox. She finds Stephen, even if she doesn't. Even if she doesn't overcome anything, it's about accepting it and still forming her new life on Earth. I think that's the thing. We can't even in this discussion cover all the ways they could use that character and all the depths that character could go in. So there's definitely so much more to explore. So I don't mind at all if they keep exploring it.
Yeah, I think some people have found her character. I think there's a sect of fandom that isn't fond of Lapis. They don't like her sort of very negative approach to things. They don't like that she's less interested in getting involved in the action and stuff, but I think it makes perfect sense for the character. I think it's an interesting character to have in the show, and not all the characters can come from the same place, unfortunately, in terms of perspective. And I think it helps keep the show nice and varied, that we have characters that have a different positions on the situation, and then the idea that she thinks they should really be just running away from the diamonds more than standing their ground is kind of interesting, to me. At least.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Was there any notes or anything on the episode?
There were some. Before I get to, I'm just going to pull them up. But before I load that up, I want to quickly note as well on the Garnet thing that you mentioned about the balloons. As much as I love that moment, what I really like about that is what it actually implies, which is that there is a version that Garnet saw in the future of that Ruby being convinced and staying. It has to have been a possibility for Garnet to have. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and the fact that Garnet went, well, let's see how this plays out. She didn't
interfere,
force their hand. She just let it play out and see what came true. I really like the notion that she knew there was the potential that she'd get away, and she's not looking angry at them for that. She's not mad at Stephen. She's just smiling in a kind of, oh, that's how it went. Okay, well, now we'll deal with that when we have to deal with that.
Yeah. I think that's a really good. I think it's a good little sort of side beat to the story. It doesn't add a huge amount, but what it adds, I think, is interesting. I thought it was interesting they revealed Lapis sleeps in this episode. Not all the gems do, and the gems certainly don't need to. They don't conserve energy the way a human body does. So I like the idea that Lapis has decided sleep is actually quite... Oh, I've just dropped something. That was quite loud, I'm sure, on the microphone. I find that interesting that she's taken up a human activity like sleep. That maybe it's like a rest thing. It's like a peace thing. It's helps her sort of sort through her thoughts and her and it helps her be a little bit more well adjusted to rest regularly.
Yeah, I thought that was a nice touch.
And there's a bit of a nice gag, obviously, then, because Peridot reveals that she snores. So there you go. That was kind of funny. In terms of like references to other stuff or like continuity stuff, it turns out Navy has what is commonly referred to as the noblewoman's laugh, which is the laugh. Usually, it's from Japanese anime. It's generally done by female villains. It's written in Japanese as sort of like a ho ho ho, but it's like more of a high pitched laugh. If you watch a lot of anime, you know exactly what it is. It's like it's almost like the what's the Wilhelm scream of Japanese anime. Although it's not the same recording, it's always different. But like it's a particular kind of laugh that they give to this usually villainous characters. In my experience, like I'm pretty sure Jessie from Pokemon had that laugh, and
right, okay,
yeah. Anyway, also I noticed a Dragon Ball Z reference where Navy landed, which is that the pose that Navy is in when she crash lands onto the beach is similar to the death pose that everyone's favorite punching bag Yamcha from Dragon Ball Z is in when he dies in the first season. Like, oh man, Yamcha, he's just useless, and his death is, his beatdown in that is often the source of jokes. There's a Dragon Ball Z game I have an app for, and they have Yamcha cards in the game. You can get the character. You can sort of. It's a card-based game where the cards all have characters on it from the show, and there's different designs of cards for each character. There's a Yamcha card where he's all in a hero pose and action ready, but there's also a joke Yamcha card they released on like April Fool's Day of his body in this exact pose because he's a useless character. He gets beat more than he wins. So when Navy lands, she's in that exact pose, and it's quite a famous shot from Dragon Ball Z because it was quite shocking, I suppose. The first season of Dragon Ball Z when they took him out, so they a little nod to that, and I find it interesting that the last time the rubies landed on Earth. The first time I should say the rubies landed on Earth, they did another Dragon Ball Z reference, which is the way that the very first ruby's head came out of the pod is another Dragon Ball Z reference, a Vegeta shot, like when he comes out of the pod in the first season of Dragon Ball Z. So I find it interesting that when this ruby landed, they did another Dragon Ball Z reference. So it's there seems to be a running theme with these guys getting to Earth in Dragon Ball Z-esque ways. Don't know if that's intentional or coincidence, but I found that interesting.
Yeah. It'd be cool if they keep that up. It would be a nice nod.
Yeah, there's one here that I literally don't get, but I'm gonna read it out for the people who will get this. When Navy experiences rain for the first time, Steven exclaims, "She likes it. Navy likes it." This is a reference to the character Little Mickey from a very famous 1970s ad for Life cereal. So that's some American thing that I don't really get.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah. Is there anything else that might be? Oh, Peridot tells Navy she can't talk. She's not to talk to the corn, which is obviously a reference to when she did that in Gem Harvest. Navy didn't know about rain, same as Peridot from When It Rains, which suggests there's no such thing as rain on Homeworld. It's a bit strange though because they've got lapises for terraforming, which is to change the sort of environment of a world from its existing found one to a more Homeworld state. So you'd imagine a lapis wouldn't have had any trouble getting to grips with rain, because if a lapis goes to planets that have atmospheres and then changes them to be more Homeworld-like, do they need the... She would know, right? She would know what rain is.
Yeah, her powers have been so water-based that,
it
is... I mean, there's presumably water, just not rain, but it is... Yeah, that is surprising.
Yeah,
based on that.
I sort of understand Peridot not having seen rain. She's always lived within Homeworld communities. But if a lapis goes to planets and terraforms them, then surely a lapis would have seen other atmospheres previously. So I find it strange that lapis would have been shocked by rain. But they...
Although, did we see her shocked by rain?
No, but it's kind of implied.
Yeah, but you could fansplain
But actually,
in
Same Old World, they have a scene. I'm sure they do. When Lapis is first seeing Earth, I think they do a scene where she's like surprised by changing weather.
I can only really remember the Peridot scene with that, but I might be wrong.
They
definitely do some weather stuff, yeah. You could fansplain it as she knew Peridot was surprised, or she knew she'd be surprised, so they're covering it in their lessons.
Yeah. I've got the transcript up for. Oh, here we go. Let's have a quick look. No. I can't. I was looking to see if I could see a reference to rain in Same Old World, but there is reference to changing weather. But I'm just flicking through it while doing a podcast is not really practical.
Won't just Control F the word rain?
Yeah, I've done that, and it's highlighted like 4 or 5 references. But some of them are like there's the word strain.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So I'm having to flick through it and actually read the context of each thing.
Well, comment below.
Comment below. I'm sure we're either right or we're wrong. Oh,
Yeah.
here you go. Oh yeah. So Stephen takes a leaf from his mouth. Whoa, Lapis! Look at this. This leaf has turned orange. This means the seasons are changing from summer to fall. Soon it's going to happen to all the leaves in the trees. Wow. So she wasn't so much shocked at rain, but she was surprised at seasons and changing things like that. So
she was surprised at a planet's atmosphere changing, which is even worse in a way.
If the terraforming is I don't know, maybe I'm looking into that too much, but yeah. Navy says bye
I'm
bye.
sure someone will...
Sorry,
Huh?
what were you saying?
No, I'm sure someone will give an explanation below.
Yeah, I'm sure. Navy says bye bye in the exact way that she said it to Ruby when she walked back into the barn and hit the diamond, which I thought was funny. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, and obviously they continue Peridot's alien motif, because when they're showing her on the chalkboard stuff, the aliens that are drawn on there are classic alien size and shape that Peridot quite seems to like. So yeah, that's a nice little nod at the end as well. That's everything, I think.
Cool. There you go. What's the name of the next episode, Daniel?
Well, Chris, the next episode is the start of a bomb.
Way.
The final bomb. To date.
I'm emotional.
I know. The last time we're going to have to rush ahead on episodes. People have been asking if we're going to treat Wanted like a bomb. That is tempting to keep the pattern. But we are currently not planning that. But
yeah, we discussed
Wanted
it.
Wanted was 4 episodes that got released at once, so we could do it Thursday to Friday, theoretically. Sorry, Tuesday to Friday, theoretically.
Maybe, but I think we discussed this on an episode before, and we discussed it because we'd be so close to the hiatus because it wasn't a bomb. Treating it like a bomb would. I think as excited as people are for us to be talking about the live stuff, I think actually the hiatus also helps people. So I think anything when we're this close to reaching a hiatus that burns through episodes might not be cool, but we shall see.
Yeah, we want to try and delay the day that this podcast has to sort of slow down for as long as possible, really. That's fair. But yeah, the next episode is the start of another bomb. This bomb doesn't have a title to my knowledge.
Okay.
Does it?
You got a hint for the bomb?
I'll tell you this, because I will tell you the title of the last episode of the bomb.
Okay.
Because we knew that going into it, so it's not any more of a spoiler than you would have had watching it. But I think it's really exciting as a prospect. This episode, the final episode of this bomb, is called "I Am My Mom."
Ooh. Okay. Okay. Cool.
So there you go.
Okay.
And actually, we shouldn't do the Wanted thing because the very next episode is the start of the Wanted arc, so we can't do that anyway because then it would be 2 weeks back to back of bombs, which is just not really feasible. God, we're catching up quick, Chris. This is scary. We've got the Wanted arc, and then a smattering of episodes, and then and then we're not far off at all.
But it does the other cool thing of that. It's a double-edged sword. The cool thing will be we can, unless circumstances was against us, i.e., new episodes dropped on a week that one of us was on holiday or something. Unless circumstances were awful, you will basically you won't need to ask Dan for his thoughts on episodes anymore on Twitter or in comments, because we will be giving them to you. You know, the intention is, if an episode comes out, you know, and it's out on the Monday, we would hope to try and get a podcast up on the Monday evening or the Tuesday or something. So there is,
because the Gem Harvest episode has an unusual amount of comments on it, because it went up the same night as the most recent 2 episodes.
From this perspective,
which for those of you guys, it's the double bill that included the episode Can't Go Back, which I'm not going to say the name of the other episode because that one is more spoilery. But we're in spitting distance, Chris. We are within 20 episodes of being caught up. We've got a 5-episode bomb, and then sort of 15, 16 episodes of just, well, no, we got the Wanted arc, which is on the 4, and then we got sort of 11, 12 loose episodes that are slightly looser, that have some really cool stuff in them. There's some really amazing episodes coming up. I cannot wait for you to see.
Cool.
So
there you go.
Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, well, that's everything for this week. I guess, is this the end of a week? Must be, if the next one's a bomb. We'll see you guys on Monday, I guess, for the next.
Or is this the bomb where we need to do the fan content?
Oh God, yes! Thank you for reminding me, Chris. Yep. You know what? This will be the very first time we've had a bonus episode that I've remembered to talk about it, that is coming. Because on the last one I forgot, and I was like, "Next up, Gem Harvest," and everyone was like, "When are you doing the bonus ones, the shorts?" And then the next one was the shorts, and I'm like, "Sorry, I didn't mention that this was coming." You're right. So this is a Tuesday. We have another episode in between this and the bomb. We're going to be talking about some fan content. So that's everything. For this week. We'll see you guys next week. I've been Dan Doolan.
I've been Chris Billingham.
And we'll see you on Thursday as we discuss, or Friday, depending on which time zone you're in, as we discuss various Steven Universe fan content. Just in a video. It's Watch Mojo though, so it'll be shit. It's 5 things you didn't notice in Childish Gambino's "This Is America" video. The title intrigues me, but it's Watch Mojo, and I hate Watch Mojo.
Yeah, they are shit.
Yeah. Here are the 6 things you didn't know about Alexander Hamilton. Number 1, his name was Alexander Hamilton. Yeah. Number 2, there's a musical by Lin-Manuel Miranda called Hamilton. Number 3, it has songs. They're in the form of rap. Number 4... I'm sorry.
They did one the other day, which was 10 things everyone hates about James Corden. Which, regardless of your opinion of the man, I'm with you, my opinion has waned over the last couple of years, but that's still a really vindictive. How is that okay?
Yeah.
How does that exist? What?
Number 6, he exists. I don't know.
And they were all shit as well.
Yeah, I'll bet.
They were all bollocks.